long-range attacks with anti-ship missiles. Had the attack come just 10 years earlier, the Russians would have likely found great success using their subs against the Americans. After developing the greatest anti-submarine warfare capabilities on the planet during the Cold War, the United States allowed its ASW capabilities to seriously atrophy, resulting in a series of embarrassing mission kills on American carriers during training exercises with friendly nation subs in the early 2000s. However, the Americans were quick to correct their mistake, even contracting a Swedish submarine for 2 years to help them restore their ASW capabilities. The American 2021 fleet is not the 2001 fleet that couldn't see a submarine in the swimming pool. The 4 Russian subs must close to within 350 nautical miles to launch their granite anti-ship missiles. They don't dare close in for torpedo strikes against the American carrier, knowing they'll be easily spotted well before them. In order to reduce the chance of detection, the subs approach the carrier strike group on a 30-degree offset from each other, which has the benefit of greatly increasing the search radius of the strike group's ASW assets. The Americans know that their first strike will likely come from beneath the waves, and they've been prepared. ASW helicopters fan out dozens of miles around the strike group, equipped with torpedoes and sonar that they periodically dip into the ocean to listen for the telltale acoustic signature of a Russian sub. American attack subs always held an advantage over their Soviet and Russian counterparts, and during the Cold War, U.S. subs tailed Soviet subs without being detected, allowing them to record a vast acoustic library of all known Soviet and now Russian submarines. Further aiding the efforts in the hunt for the Russian subs are the P-8 Poseidons based out of Guam, Japan, and South Korea. With the world's largest air tanker fleet, the United States is able to drastically increase the range of its Poseidons, allowing the aircraft to sweep a corridor across the Pacific for the carrier strike group. The Poseidons lay down vast fields of airdrop sonobuoys. On contact with salt water, the sonobuoy's batteries activate. Some of the buoys are set to active search mode, pinging the ocean for miles around them with powerful sonar and listening for the report. Others are set to passive, listening for the telltale sound of a Russian sub. But further aiding the hunt for Russian submarines is a brand new development by the U.S. Navy, a radar that can penetrate the waves and detect the underwater wake of the submarine. The subs can't evade the vast fields of sonobuoys deployed by the Poseidons, and eventually each sub begins to generate a good track. Poseidons now drop down to just a few hundred feet above the waves, allowing their magnetic anomaly detector to verify the presence of Russian submarines below. Upon confirmation, each Poseidon drops 2 torpedoes. The torpedoes don't even need to score a direct hit. Even a miss of 100 feet generates so much pressure that the submarine's hull will rupture. Round 1 goes to the Americans. Submarines aren't the only way to kill the carrier, and Russian Tu-22 bombers are already airborne. During the Cold War, Soviet military planners knew that attacking a carrier strike group would be an extremely dicey proposition. Official battle plans called for attacks with a minimum of 100 bombers, with an estimated loss rate of 50%. Even then, a mission kill was likely but not an outright sinking, merely taking a carrier out of action for a few months to a year as it underwent repairs. Today, the Russian Air Forces only have 67 Tu-22s, and most of them are stationed in the much more important Western theater. What they do have is the granite anti-ship missile, capable of being launched from standoff ranges that should hopefully keep the bombers safely out of the strike group's air defenses. 2,000 Tu-22s leave the Russian coast behind. The American carrier is moving at full power, making it a surprisingly fast and evasive target. Russian satellites fix the carrier group's location for the bombers, but only for 15 minutes before they dip past the Earth's horizon and lose radar contact. The best way to fix the carrier long-term would be use airborne radar assets. But with American air bases in Japan hosting fleets of fighter aircraft, the AWACS planes would be splashed in a matter of hours. The greatest difficulty Russian forces are having in taking the American carrier out is simply finding the damn thing. Satellite surveillance gives the Tu-22s a box a few hundred square miles wide where the carrier could potentially be hiding. Now the bombers must approach that target box and remain within range of their granite missiles, 388 miles, until a new satellite fix can help the bombers get better targeting data. Bombers could turn on their own radars, but that would make them stand out like a spotlight in the dark room, making them easy prey for the carrier's combat air patrol. While the Russians are having difficulty fixing the carrier's location, the Americans are not having similar problems. Even under intense cyber attack, the American recon satellite network is vast, outnumbered only by the Chinese in physical assets, but not in capabilities. AWACS planes launched from Japan each have a detection range of just over 250 miles, and once more supported by aerial refueling tankers, U.S. Air forces are able to cover a wide swath of Russia's Pacific coast with radar coverage. Further supplementing the land-based AWACS planes are carrier-launched Hawkeye airborne radar planes and EA-18 Growlers. The Russian attack wave is easily vectored, and the carrier's combat air patrol is dispatched. While the Tu-22s must get within 388 miles to launch their attack, the carrier's F-18 Hornets and the new F-35Cs each have a combat radius of over 1,200 miles. Guided by airborne radar, the F-35s take point. The Tu-22s realize they've been targeted when the F-35's fire control radar illuminates them, but by then it's too late. Countermeasures spoof a quarter of the incoming missiles, but 10 of the bombers are still down. The limited missile capacity of the F-35s is its greatest weakness, able to carry only 4 missiles internally in order to preserve its stealth capabilities. Instead, the F-35s are forced to switch to guns. For the first time in decades, U.S. fighters straight enemy aircraft with guns. Cannon capacity is also very limited on F-35s, however, and the Russian planes are built tough. 3 more Tu-22s are splashed, leaving 9. There's still hundreds of miles from launch, though, and the follow-on F-18s may not be stealthy, but with Russia unable to provide effective air cover past its shores, they don't need to be. The bombers are sitting ducks, speeding straight into a head-on deathmatch with the approaching Hornets. Wisely, the surviving 9 Tu-22s turn around and head back round. Round 2 once more goes to the U.S. As the surviving Tu-22s arrive home, however, the crews are sent for chow and a few hours sleep. As they rest, the bombers are being refitted with a brand new weapon, just delivered from the Western Theater. The Russian military still has very small numbers of them and must use them extremely judiciously. But with the strike group now within 1,500 miles of the shore, the time is now. Half a day later, the Tu-22s are once more back in the air. They know they'll be immediately spotted by the American satellites and AWACS planes once they leave the Russian coast, but this time they don't need to get so close to deliver their deadly payload. The Americans can't believe it. The Russians must be crazy. They're trying the exact same attack that just failed so catastrophically. Vectored in by Hawkeyes and Air Force AWACS, the Combat Air Patrol once more moves to intercept the threat, well outside of anti-ship range. This time, the Tu-22s only need to get within 1,000 miles of the carrier. They have to once more rely on targeting data from the overhead satellites, meaning the American carrier can only fix for brief moments of time. The carrier isn't close enough to the shore for installations to aid in tracking. They must once more target very large blocks of the Pacific Ocean, but this new Russian weapon is fully capable of finding its own targets. It's perfect for the task at hand. And long before the Americans' combat air patrol can intercept him, each Tu-22 drops 2 10-meter black and silver missiles from their wingtip pylons. The Zircon anti-ship missiles immediately fire their rocket engines, boosting them to over 2 times the speed of sound. The rocket engine now detaches from the missile and falls to the ocean below.